What's up, my wizards? It's Dev, Mtg down there, youtube.com with Light Magic. And today I've got your Hour of Devastation Prerelease guide for you. A lot of you have been asking for this. We're basically just going to do what we always do, man. We're going to sit back, we're going to go over the best commons and uncommons in every color in Hour of Devastation. We're going to talk a little bit about how to win your pre-release. And I've got a lot to talk about. So, without further ado, let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and hit it. So what do you get in your little Hour of Devastation pre-release pack that you signed up for? Well, first of all, this time you get a deck box, and as usual, you get a spin down life counter. And also, as usual, you get 6 packs of cards, you get 6 boosters, and a random foil rare or mythic from Hour of Devastation. Could be anything. And in those 6 packs, important to note that 4 of them are going to be Hour of Devastation, and 2 of them are going to be Mtg. So you will have Mtg in your sealed pool for your pre-release. Now, for the purposes of this exercise here today, I'm just going to talk about the best cards in Hour of Devastation in all the different colors. But if you really wanted to get acquainted with this sealed, you can go back and watch the Mtg pre-release guide to get a good knowledge of what the best cards in Mtg for sealed play are too. You can do that if you wanted to. You get like really vast knowledge of the whole sealed format, and you increase my watch time. So if you want to do it, you can. Now, this is usually the part of the video right before I get into the individual colors and the best cards and such, where I talk about some sealed strategy. Again, if you want some of that, go check out the Mtg pre-release guide. But only thing I want to say before I get into the individual colors here is that this set really highlights the difference between the draft environment and the sealed environment. They're 2 completely different formats. That's very evident here. Now, I say that because as far as draft goes, it looks like there's a bunch of exciting archetypes that may have enough support to actually be doable in draft, like the Fraying Sanity Mill deck. You get enough compelling arguments out of the Mtg packs passed to you, then you might be able to pull it off. Same thing with the Red-White Exert deck. You know, if you get Exert dudes passed to you, you can just really prioritize them and get like 8 Exert guys. Make that deck work. The -1/-1 counters deck, the Cycling deck, the Deserts Matter deck, all these look like decent, interesting draft archetypes. They're going to make the draft environment specifically a pretty interesting meta, but sealed is a different beast entirely this time around. Don't try to make the Fraying Sanity Mill deck in your sealed pool. It's probably not going to happen. Same thing with the Exert deck. You know, if you only have 3 Exert guys, don't try to make the Exert deck work just because you got the red-white Exert guy. You know, probably not going to work in sealed. We need to really just concentrate on classic sealed strategy, get good creatures on the curve. That's all we're looking to do. That will win games for you. With that said, let's go ahead and start the color analysis. Here are some white rares that you might want to look out for. First of all, Angel of Condemnation, and second of all, Adorned Pouncer. These are 2 of my favorite white rares for sealed right here. Angel of Condemnation just does it all. It's repeatable removal that flies and can attack and stuff. Just yes all day. That's probably the best rare for sealed in white. And Adorned Pouncer is not bad at all. You know, first of all, if you can get some sort of aura that boosts its power on it, which is few and far between in this format, but cartouches do usually do the trick there, then the double strike, even on the 2-mana version of the card, ain't bad at all. And when you eternalize it, it's great. It can go toe-to-toe with literally the biggest creature in the set. Razaketh is an 8/8. This can at least trade with it in combat. And also worth noting that it beats every other eternalized creature once eternalized in combat. You know, it's not just a 4/4, it's a 4/4 double strike, meaning that it kills anything else that's been eternalized. Not bad. But let's take a look at some of White's uncommons here, and I think White actually has some of the best uncommons in the set here. So let's take a look at Steward of Solidarity, Unconventional Tactics, Desert's Hold, and Sunscourge Champion. Now, Steward of Solidarity is probably my favorite of these because, you know, given enough turns, it can take over the game by itself. If you get 2 or 3 creatures out of this over the course of a game, you've done really well for yourself, and you've given yourself some good board presence, you know. If you get this and 2 tokens out of it, I'd say you've done well for your 2-mana investment. So, all-star uncommon as far as I'm concerned. Unconventional Tactics, you know, it looks like you have to really build around this, but even in your sealed pools, from what I've seen of doing sealed pools online so far, it's not too hard to get a bunch of zombies in your deck. You know, you've got Embalm, you've got Eternalize, you've got a bunch of zombies in both black and white in Mtg and Hour of Devastation. So it's not too hard, even in a sealed pool that you have no control over, to get 7, 8, or more sometimes zombies that are halfway decent too. So something like Unconventional Tactics is actually really really, really good looking. I think the card's going to be super slick and sealed. Desert's Hold, you don't have to have a desert out at all to make this good. 3 life is great and all, but you're really just looking for what is essentially removal for 3 mana on any creature. That's fantastic. So yes, play Desert's Hold. It's decent removal. Now, Sunscourge Champion, I just really like the way the card breaks down. You know, you pay 3 mana for your 2/3. That's a decent rate in sealed, at least. And you get a couple of life off of it. And then, for just a, a relatively cheap investment, again, you get a 4/4 that gives you 4 life. Not bad, even though you do have to lose a card, which makes me kind of look sideways a little bit at Sunscourge Champion. I'm not sure that it's great. It looks like the discard was something that was added to control the power level of the card a little bit in sealed and draft. Because it looks like it'd be really powerful if you didn't have to discard the card. But even though you do have to lose a card, I still think that it's a very decent creature to play. As far as White's commons go, there are a few standouts that I want to point out here. There's Dauntless Aven, Sandblast, and Aven of Enduring Hope here. Aven of Enduring Hope I don't think is the best card in the world, but I'll take a 5-mana 3/3 flyer in this format. That looks good. Especially with all the, 2 power and 1 or 2 toughness flyers in the set. At 3 mana, I definitely think that a 3 power flyer rules the roost. So we'll go with that, and we'll gain the life too, why not? Sandblast is just good removal, so we'll play that. There's really no other explanation, it's just good removal. And then Dauntless Aven is maybe the best of the white commons. I like this in the Exert deck, obviously, but even if you don't have support for the Exert deck, you'll still play it. 3 mana 2/1 flyers are good. This one comes with upside, and even if you don't have Exert dudes, you're still giving a creature vigilance, which is fine in and of itself, but end of story here. You'll play a 3 mana 2 power flyer. Overall, I actually think that white is a great color in this sealed environment. You're likely to get some removal out of it, and you're likely to get a couple of pretty playable creatures too. So, from the sealed pools that I've seen, white isn't amazing all the time or anything, but it is one of the colors that I've found myself wanting to play the most when I do sealed pools. Just got some pretty solid cards in it. Now, as far as blue goes, there's only one rare that I really want to point out here, and note that I'm not talking about mythics, or else I'd bring up that Sphinx. Oop, I just did. Whoops. But as far as the rares go, there's only one that I want to talk about, and that's Kefnet's Last Word. If you get this, I think that you probably want to play it in sealed. Just steal their biggest creature is probably worth leaving all your lands tapped the next turn in a slow format like sealed, where they might not even be able to do anything on their next turn. So, it all depends on the timing here, but being able to steal a creature is traditionally an incredibly powerful effect, especially in a slow environment like sealed, so play the card if you get it. Now, blue has some great uncommons and commons here that I want to talk about. First of all, as far as the uncommons, we've got really good role players. Eternal of Heart's Truths, Vizier of the Anointed, and Ominous Sphinx. First of all, Ominous Sphinx, even again, it's kind of like a couple of other cards I've talked about here. Desert's Hold, Dauntless Aven. It doesn't matter if you have the thing that supports it. It's fine on its own. Ominous Sphinx, even if you don't have any cards that cycle or discard, still a 5 mana 4 power flyer, baby. You're going to play it. You're going to play it and you're going to like it. Vizier of the Anointed, if you just have a couple of dudes with Eternalize or Embalm or whatever in your sealed deck, it's worth playing. You get to tutor something up. You get basically card advantage, which is fantastic. Vizier is a standout uncommon in this set. And Eternal of Heart's Truce is, again, a great role player. So I really like all 3 of these blue uncommons. And there's a couple of more, too. But on to the commons here. The commons I like in blue are Aerial Guide, a lot, Unsummon, and Unquenchable Thirst. Unquenchable Thirst continues the trend of cards that, like, if you have a certain theme going, they get a little bit better, but they're okay on their own. Just 2 mana to keep a creature tapped forever is fine. Just play it on a tapped creature or withstand 1 swing from them, whatever, And then suddenly, they'll never untap again. They won't be able to use activated abilities that require them to tap anything. So 2 mana is a steal for that. That is essentially removal. So really am a fan of Thirst. And then Unsummon, Unsummon is usually just okay in the sealed environment. A format that plays slow, we don't mind playing our creature again, but it's at least a decent combat trick. Now in this sealed environment, it's a lot better because of all the Eternalize and Embalm creatures running around, and there's other stuff that creates tokens outside of just that. And Unsummon is basically 1 mana to destroy target token, which is super awesome. And Aerial Guide is probably my favorite blue common. Just an insanely good curve filler, amazing at 3-drop, 2 power flyer that gives another creature evasion when it swings in. Just really fantastic card as far as I'm concerned. If I'm in blue, which I often am, in sealed simulators, I think that blue is a very good color in this set, even though it lacks removal like it usually does. I think that it's got some of the best overall cards. So if I'm in blue, I will usually play as many aerial guides as I get, you can betcha. I've sort of already shown my hand here, but I think that blue is one of the better colors for sealed play in this format. It's got a couple of at least halfway decent tempo / removal cards. Unquenchable Thirst counts as removal. It's actually really good removal from what I can tell. Just a big fan of blue from what I can tell in this set. Now it's on to black, and I actually think that black has all of the best sealed rares. It's got Bantu's Last Stand, Hour of Glory, and Torment of Hailfire. All of these are just insane sealed bombs, Hour of Glory is just really good role-playing removal. Bantu's Last Stand is a board wipe, and it's unconditional, so you'll play that every time you get it in your sealed pool, very likely. And then Torment of Hailfire. This is also just a super crazy bomb very, very late in the game in sealed. You probably want to play that. As far as black's uncommons, there's a fair lot of them, but I'll talk about 3 specifically here. There's Banewhip Punisher, Doomfall, and Torment of Scarabs. Well, Banewhip Punisher is just an obviously busted card in sealed, and probably even draft, if you're drafting up the -1/-1 counter deck, but we don't need to be playing that synergy. It's just going to be basically a 4-mana removal spell, which is just fine, and it's on a stick. It can attack, it can do all kinds of stuff. It can kill a guy and then kill a different guy that we put a -1/-1 counter on at a different point in the game. Just all-star uncommon is Banewhip Punisher from my perspective. Doomfall isn't amazing or anything, but it does give us a peek at our opponent's hand. It lets us get rid of the best card in their hand. That's good. Or it's removal. So, sounds good to me in sealed. And then Torment of Scarabs. Don't sleep on this, man. This actually looks pretty good in sealed. Well, it'll probably get a bunch of turns in if you're able to play it on curve. I'm not saying this is going to win you the game or anything, but if you even make them sacrifice a couple of creatures off of this, or maybe a creature and a card discarded, then I think you've gotten enough value to justify 4 mana. As far as the black commons, my favorites for sealed play are Lethal Sting, Ruin Rat, and Torment of Venom. Lethal Sting and Torment of Venom are just great removal. As far as Lethal Sting goes, man, I don't really care about having to put a -1/-1 counter on one of my guys, especially considering there's an awful lot of synergy with that in our Amonkhet packs. So if we can pull it off in sealed, which I'm not saying we will, but if we can pull off the synergy, that's great. But this is yet another thing where we're probably more than happy to put a -1/-1 counter on one of our guys if it means that we get to kill something that's going to kill us. So Lethal Sting is great. And Torment of Venom is just premium removal. It puts us solidly in black. There's a lot of double black in the casting cost of these really good black cards. So if we want to play black, we will have to commit to it. But Torment of Venom is probably worth it. And then Ruin Rat is just a, 2-mana Death Touch guys and 1-mana Death Touch guys even are just always great in limited environments, especially sealed, because nothing is more annoying than a Death Touch dude. As far as black goes, I'd give it a grade of tied with white. Whatever white's grade is, it's probably right there. I think that black has the better removal, as it usually does. I think that black is probably the 2nd or 3rd best color in the sealed environment. As far as our last 2 colors, I am not in love with red or green in this sealed here, but there are some red bombs, and if you get them, you probably should play them, especially Hour of Devastation, and to a lesser extent, Chaos Maw. Now, both of these, again, just like the black cards we looked at, both of these put you solidly in red, which I'm not sure how much we want to be, but Hour of Devastation especially is so good that if we open it in our sealed pool, we definitely have to, consider greatly playing red in our deck. Hour of Devastation is just so ridiculous. And Chaos Maw can come down and kill most of the creatures on the board in the sealed environment and give you a 6/6, which is bigger than almost anything in sealed right now. So Chaos Maw is definitely worth it if you can get to that much mana. As far as the red uncommons go, there's not a whole lot I want to point out here, really. Just Abrade and Burning Fist Minotaur, which might be a surprise. Abrade is just good, period. It's 2 mana removal. It's essentially Lightning Strike that can't hit the dome, but in sealed, we don't care if our Lightning Strike can hit the dome, we will play it. So there's not a whole lot of artifacts that I really care about that much, but it can hit the odd artifact if we wanted to. And then Burning Fist Minotaur looks kind of just okay, but a couple of techie things to point out about Minotaur here. First of all, it's one of the only creatures with first strike in all of Hour of Devastation, and a lot of the 2 and even sometimes the 3 drops in this set have just 1 or 2 toughness. So First Strike is really, really powerful, and if you pump it even just once, then it can take out and survive against a creature that's been eternalized. So there's a couple of tech reasons to want to play this card in the sealed and even maybe the draft environment. This is not the most impressive card at first glance, but when you start looking at the meta as a whole, I think this card could actually be pretty powerful. As far as the red commons go, though, we'll play some more removal. There's Open Fire, Puncturing Blow, and Blur of Blades, I guess. I'm not super impressed by Blur of Blades, but a -1/-1 counter is a -1/-1 counter. It could be removal, or it could make a big guy relatively small. So we'll take it. And there's a lot of synergy there in Aram and Ket pack. So let's try it out. Now, as far as Puncturing Blow goes, that's just going to kill a creature 90% of the time in this sealed environment, so we'll play it. And then Open Fire is a more expensive Lightning Strike, but again, in this sealed, we will play it every day. Now, red's grade would probably not be great. It's probably like tied with green as my least favorite color in this sealed right now, It's got a lot of good burn, even more burn than it sometimes has. It's decent common stuff that burns, 3-mana Searing Spear is just okay. There's the 4-mana thing that hits for 5. These cards are all right, but I'm not entirely impressed by our creature suite in red this time around. But it's still a decent support color. Well, let's take a look at Big Green for the last color here. First of all, as far as the rares go, take a look at Ronus's Last Stand and Pride Sovereign. I think that sealed is definitely where Ronus's Last Stand can shine. They're forced to remove it. Removal is at a premium in this sealed already. A lot of removal is only going to deal 3 damage or 3 -1/-1 counters like Torment of Venom. So I think that toughness is great that early on in the game. And in a slow environment like sealed, it's probably worth staying tapped down for a turn or two to have a 5/4. So, fan of Stand. And then Pride Sovereign is another card. I talked about this with Steward of Solidarity and White. This is just another card that, given a few turns, can really take over the game all by itself. And this one does it even better than Steward does it. So, look out for Pride Sovereign. As far as the green uncommons, there's not a whole lot I want to talk about here, but I will give a shout out to Overcome and Sifter Worm. Sifter Worm is one of the biggest creatures in the entire format, and 7 mana is gettable too. It looks like this it looks like Hour is gonna slow us down a little bit. And sealed is already a slower format than draft on most occasions. So sealed is already a slow format, but it looks like Hour is slowing us down a little bit. So 7 mana, really not hard to get to. This gives you a scry, gives you a bunch of life theoretically, gets you right back in the game, and gives you the second biggest creature in the entire sealed environment. So I'm a fan of Sifter Worm, and Overcome is just our Overrun effect. It's even got similar name. Although not as good as Overrun, it's still a great card. And green has a couple of commons, too, that I want to talk about here before I finish up the colors. First of all, Ambuscade is a good common, man. I like that green has been getting fight effects that don't just fight. Instead of both creatures dealing damage to one another, our creature just hits the other creature. They don't hit back. That's fantastic. And it's good when they get a boost, like on Ambuscade, too. And our creature can attack afterwards. This is instant speed, so Ambuscade looks to be maybe the best green common. And Rampaging Hippo is great, too. Let me bring that up. Rampaging Hippo I like a lot because it's the biggest common creature in the entire set. It goes toe-to-toe with nearly anything in the entire set and lives to tell the tale, including, obviously, eternalized creatures, too. So, as far as commons go, you can do a lot worse than Rampaging Hippo. And then, finally, Gift of Strength I really like as a green common, mostly because it's a good boost and flying creatures matter in this sealed environment. We see a lot of games won by blue-white skies, from what I can tell. So flying creatures matter greatly, and giving the bonus of reach is great. And, obviously, it's just a combat trick outside of the reach. You don't even need the reach for this to be a playable card. I just don't care for green so much in this set. It does get decent removal in Ambuscade, and a bunch of good creatures, too. So it might be slightly above red on my list, but only slightly. Let's finish it up by looking at the other stuff here. There's gold cards, there's artifacts, there's lands, there's aftermath cards. So let's take a look here at the gold stuff first. Now, there's a cycle of gold stuff that's not mythic. There's a cycle of mythic gold stuff that you want to play every single one of those if you get them. But as far as the other gold cards go in the set, the best are probably Unraveling Mummy, River Hoopy, and Obelisk Spider here. Obelisk Spider doesn't necessarily rely on -1/-1 counter synergies. It's just a 3 mana 1/4 that kind of looks like a 2/4, if you squint. and that can be good. So I like Obelisk Spider one way or the other. It sort of has Wither. It's sort of a little bigger than its mana cost would imply. So big fan of Spider, and it blocks really well too. So like the card a lot. Unraveling Mummy, like I mentioned earlier, with unconventional tactics, there's a fair amount of zombies, even in sealed, that will become available to you. So something like this, not bad at all. You can totally get value out of Mummy, and 3 mana 3/3 could be worse. And then River Hoopy. I actually really like this card for sealed. I'm not sure how great the blue-green color combination is. Might be okay, actually, if you're building a mid-rangey sort of aggro-y deck. Blue has good creatures for that, even. So you can fill the bottom to lower end of your bottom to mid end of your curve with blue guys, and then finish off your curve with big green dudes. Good work. And River Hoopy is okay in a deck like that. It flies. It's got a decent toughness for its mana cost, and it keeps you in the game by gaining you life and drawing you cards, and it's a mana sink. Like, all of that is really good in sealed. So I like Hoopy a lot. Into the Aftermath stuff, there's not really a whole lot that I want to point out here, but I will say that I like Farm to Market because it's removal, I like Struggle to Survive because it's removal, and I like Consign to Oblivion because it's removal. Kind of. There's not a whole lot of artifacts, like, at all that I want to talk about, literally at all, so I'm just going to skip those this time. I just really don't see the need to talk about any of these artifacts. There's an equipment that I like, but that's about it. And just talk about these lands here, all of which are deserts in this set, or at least the ones I want to talk about. Ifnir Deadlands, Shefet Dunes, and Hash Up Oasis. This is part of a 5-card cycle that I think these are the 3 best of here. Especially Ifnir Deadlands. Any land that can function as removal is fine in my book, and if you have multiple deserts, then that's awesome. But even if you don't, card supports itself, so there's that. Shefet Dunes, boost your whole team? Yes. And as far as Hash Up Oasis, big boost to one guy? Equal yes. So that about wraps it up, I think, for the Hour of Devastation pre-release guide here. Those are all of my favorite cards in this sealed environment. And again, not draft-minded at all. Just the sealed environment specifically. I think, again, if you take anything from this video, this sealed environment is sealed classic. You just play creatures on curve, play a couple of combat tricks, play as much removal as you can get in there, and fit a bomb or two if you possibly can, and bing bang, you are done. This looks like a fairly easy sealed to put together a deck, and card evaluation is pretty easily in this sealed too. You know, there are definitely creatures that are cut above the rest, and if you get removal, you probably want to play that period unless it puts you in a color you really don't want to be in. So I think I'm tapped out for this pre-release guide, but I want you to do a couple things for me. If you could, do me a solid, just hit thumbs up. Helps me out with the recommended feeds. That helps. Please do that. You can also share the video on social media. You can follow us on Twitter at SBMTG Dev. That's my handle there. And most of all, most important rule ever, because it's a pre-release and it's not like a competitive event, just have fun. Pre-releases are the most fun events ever. Just have fun, guys. I'm Deb from SBMTG. Thanks for watching, my wizards.